somebody told me now that there's somebody after coming up out of a grave down at the local graveyard, it wouldn't surprise me.
There's no logic to it, there's no science to it. It's impossible to explain.
Lots of people don't believe in them. You know, very sceptical.
And I didn't ask people, I just kind of took it as folklore or tradition. I didn't ask people, can you explain scientifically how this works?
A lot of it has to be to do with faith, because if you don't believe in the cure, it'll not work.
Definitely there is something exists that we can't explain.
The cure is a term used in Irish folklore to describe a variety of folk medicine practices that combine superstition, religion, and herbal remedies to treat particular ailments and illnesses. The tradition is steeped in Irish culture and history. To this day, cures are still used commonly in rural communities and even sometimes in more urban places throughout Ireland.
When I was a child in the 1970s, the cures were very much part of the community. Cures were very common, people availed of them regularly, and we didn't really think anything about it. So it was like a living tradition. It was part of people's lives. And then I was also very close to my grandmother, a North Galway woman born in 1892, and she was very. She had a lot of folklore. Again, folklore was very living for her. And there was a lot of talk in her house about banshees and about fairies, and the land was all encapsulated, was all kind of living, these creatures lived in the landscape. So I suppose I was brought up on that, and I had an appreciation and understanding for it. Some cures involve a cup of tea and a chat, but some of them are also very quick. Like, for example, the bleeding cure. I know I interviewed a man, a cattle dealer in North Roscommon, and he would have a bleeding prayer, and you literally just phone him. So you phone him and you say, you know, fell, cut my hand, it's really badly bleeding, can't get it stopped, or we're on our way to casualty, we're A&E, can you say the prayer? Animals that have been injured, a cow gives birth and she's bleeding, a woman miscarriaging, gunshot wounds, people told me they've said the prayer for. So whatever the issue is, they say the prayer, and it's a very short interaction. I think it's very fascinating. I think folklore is fabulous, and I think it's wonderful, and the folk cures are very fascinating. I'm not sure I had some kind of a compulsion to keep at it, and I suppose it was to tell a story, and a story that wasn't known. Like you said, it's out there, but it's quite an undercurrent. Not many people are aware of it. In my book, I sort of simplified it and said there's faith cures and there's herbal cures. Most cures fall within those categories. So a herbal cure is obviously where you use herbs, where you use plants from healing. And in the past in Ireland, that was widespread. But there was a lot of research done in the late 1930s, documented in the National Folklore Archive in UCD in Dublin University at the moment. A huge study was done in the 1930s, and there was widespread use of herbal cures or plants for healing for both humans and animals. But gradually, as the decades have passed, and you know, basically we've become a more wealthy country, so people rely now more on medicines and veterinary surgeons. So a lot of that knowledge has been lost. But I think, you know, by talking to people and investigating them, there's a spiritual and a psychological dimension to the cures also that maybe we don't see when we have a kind of a more modern medicine interaction with our GP, who do wonderful work, and all the doctors. But I think the cures, there's something extra, there's a personal element to it.
There's cures for everything them times. There still are there, but you've been going more for cures them times when I was growing up. That's in the 50s and 60s. You'd be going more for cures then than you would be to the doctors. I thought it was magic that you could have maybe a sore throat one day and maybe get a cure for it, and the next day the sore throat is gone. There was a man that I used to go to because down the road, maybe 5 miles down the road, and you went to him and he put a wee ribbon on your ankle, or a piece of, I think it was a piece of wool, thread. He put it around your ankle, done a couple of signs across, and you went away, and that was it. The healing that I have now, the first I know about it was after I had a close encounter with death 29 years ago. I went into a place at work where I got overcome with fumes. I was in it for 4 hours before they found me, and I woke up in hospital the next day, and that's all I knew. But from that day on, I knew different things that happened, and different things started going to change strange. I was told in the hospital that I would have to go to get help. This a man came in to see me the morning I was leaving, grey-haired man, probably around 70 years of age. I don't know who he was or what he was around. He never said who he was. I didn't see the need to ask him anything, but he said that when you get out, he told me I had a close encounter with death, and he says, when you get out of here, he says, you're going to be seeing things different than a lot of people, than most of us. I did meet up with a person, a lady, a local lady here. She was an amazing person. I was going into a shop in Derry Lane one day, and I met her on the way out, and she stopped me. And in the doorway, I got chatting. I knew who she was. I knew her husband well, but I never talked to her. And she says to me, when we're leaving, she says, you have to come to my house on Friday night. She says, I have to coach you. She was a life coach. And she was 1,000 other things as well. She'd travel the world, learn about healings and all that. And that's what I'd done for about maybe 20 years, 24 years maybe. I used to go maybe one night a week, maybe some weeks go 2 nights a week. And between the two of us, we come up with this healing. Well, it's changed my life. That I think if somebody told me now that there's somebody after coming up out of a grave down at the local graveyard, it wouldn't surprise me.
Jane, who wishes to remain anonymous for her work in the medical profession, went to get the cure for whooping cough when she was younger. Her condition was so bad that she was off school for 6 months and had lost a significant amount of weight. This is her story.
My mum was in work talking to, some of her colleagues about what I was going through, and, there was no rest. They were exhausted. They were up every night with me. I was exhausted. It was horrendous. They brought me to Donegal, fresh air, salt water, everything. They tried everything, nothing worked. And this girl actually that was with her said, I have a charm. She said, what you need to do is bring her to my house. She gave her a date and a time, and she said, tell your daughter I'm going to give her some bread, just normal bread. She just has to eat it in front of me, and she's not allowed to say thank you. When I came home, I remember it was a summer's night, I started to cough really violently, and then when I just ran out to the back, we had like a grating in the back in our patio, and I vomited profusely. Loads of like phlegm, I think it was about 10 minutes. And then literally after that, I never coughed again.
The cure worked on myself. I cut my head. really cut my head. And just as I started the cure, the bleeding stopped just right away. And the man that owned the agriculture store that I was in, he started squealing. He thought there was something wrong because the bleeding had stopped so quick. Blood was just pouring out of me. And I'd done the cure myself, and it just stopped.
So I rings Angus and I says, Angus, listen, this man here is going to nosebleed. I says, do you do the cure? And he says, no problem. I says, I'll talk to you later. So then I says, got the cure done, and the bleeding had stopped. And he turned around and he says to me, catch yourself on. That's a load of cod swallowed, As soon as he said it just opened up. And he was bleeding again, and the next thing he says to me, hey, ring Angus back there and get that stopped again. So I rang you the second time, well the same night, and it stopped again. But he's still a non-believer.
If people phone up looking to get a healing done, maybe somebody bleeding after an operation, they'll ring you up maybe 10, 20 minutes later and say that the bleeding stopped immediately, that the healing was done. People would say that, that was a miracle, but I'd pass no remarks on now because I see a miracle every day. Every morning I get up is a miracle.
As to the source of the cure, the response to the healing is varied. The most common source is credited to God. Some attribute it to a certain energy, maybe spiritual in nature, and others attribute it to a person's positive mental attitude to heal oneself.
That question about faith came up quite a lot. So I would always ask the person, do you have to have faith for it to be successful? And do you have faith in your cure? And of course they almost invariably said, yes, of course I wouldn't make it if I didn't believe it would work.
You have to believe in it. My mum spoke to me for a long time to say this will work. You kind of felt that that was your last option.
The faith thing, that could be faith in God or faith in the cure. Some people say, of course, if they come to me, I believe that they want to be cured and they believe it's going to help them. They wouldn't come if they didn't think it would help them. But also people had said, well, sure, I cure horses, I cure children, and they don't have any faith in it or any belief in it or any consciousness, and it will still work.
This was miraculous recovery, and whatever it was. Some people call that witchcraft. I don't know.
I'm doing these healings now in our Lord's name through the Bible and all, and I asked him to heal these people. It's not me heal them. I asked the good Lord to heal them, and he's answered me every time.
If you believe something's not going to work, it won't work. Like, you know, now and again I'll take a niggly pain and I do the cure straight away. That's it. Going back to when I was a child, probably maybe 7, 8, I had a terrible toothache, and I was in playing with my next door neighbour, and her aunt was aware that I had this toothache because I was in pain, and she says to me, I have the cure of the toothache. So she had a handwritten prayer, and she said, say that prayer 3 times. So as a child, I memorised the prayer, and it worked for me. Give me your full name.
My name's Liam Graham.
As the apostles lay on the marble stone, Jesus Christ came down alone. Man, oh man, what makes Lewin Graham shake? Oh Lord, it is his toothache. As the apostles lay on the marble stone, Jesus Christ came down alone. Man, oh man, what makes Lewin Graham shake? Oh Lord, it is his toothache. As the apostles lay on the marble stone, Jesus Christ came down alone. Man, oh man, what makes Lewin Graham shake? Oh Lord, it is his toothache. And then I do, dear Lord, please take Lewin's pain away so I can continue with your work. And that's it. 99% of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But you find that that's usually the problem with the person.
The sources of the cure don't just run through people, but are spread across the land of Ireland. Each holy well has its own unique story, from what saint has blessed the cure here, or to what specific cure the well holds and the ritual that accompanies it. Trees next to the well are often covered with rags and personal items, being left at the well, transferring and leaving their illness or problem behind.
My aneurysm after brain surgery grew back, so my eye went over here, so all you could see was the white of my eye. And I went to Derrynoose because there's a cure in it for the eye. You have to go to the well 3 times and bless yourself with maybe a piece of tissue, right? You make the sign of the cross on your eye and you walk around the well. But to do that 3 nights after a certain time.
And that number 3 is really powerful and really important number in the traditional Irish cures. It comes up all the time. Most people will say, oh, I do my cure in 3 times, I'll touch you, but I have to touch you 3 times to make the cure of the back pain or whatever it is. And then often 3 days are involved. So that's 3 threes, that's 9. In relation to the 7th daughters and 7 sons, you're probably aware of that. That's a cure that's under pressure, or you have to have a lot of children. In the past, when Irish people had very large families, you had to have 7 children in a row, so 7 girls in a row or 7 boys in a row, and you couldn't have a break, so you couldn't have 3 boys, a girl, and then 4 boys. There was a break in the lineage there, so there had to be straight boys or straight girls. And then the 7th child is a very old Irish tradition. The 7th child has the healing power.
It's always 3 and 7 are always the 2 numbers that show up a lot.
Oh,
3 will be my lucky number now as well.
3 it tends to be 3s, maybe similar to the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You say that, glory be to the Father. You say it. There's a lady in Katy. She's called Betty McCann. And she has numerous amount of cures. She does it over 9 days.
This is for 2024.
This is for 2024, and that's just the cure for bleeding. Have the cure for eczema, that works for psoriasis and dermatitis. Have the cure for bleeding, blood pressure, sty and heart failure. Most of my cures can be done over the phone, or I can send them a message through Facebook. The only one, if people would need to come to see me for, is the cure of the sty. I've always heard that if you say thank you for a cure, it doesn't work. But it's all right to say thank you afterwards.
Yeah.
But not at the time. But people say thank you, and it still works. Like, you know, it's very hard not to say thank you because you're used to saying thank you. I've had a lady here before. I've done the cure, the sty for her, and she'd maybe leave a wee packet of biscuits or something, but she'd leave them on the table. But she doesn't hand them directly to me. No, she can't hand them directly to me.
People say to me, do I say thank you? But in my case, it doesn't matter whether you say it. I'm a bit different with this, where other people don't allow you to say thank you, but I'm a firm believer that God never said don't say thank you.
There's no logic to it, there's no science to it. It's impossible to explain. And I didn't ask people, I just kind of took it as folklore or tradition. I didn't ask people, can you explain scientifically how this works?
Through generations of cures past and the passing of the cure, it would come as no surprise that the curers have differing thoughts and ideas for the traditions of the cure.
Secrecy would be a big part of the cure tradition, and I think probably it's one of the ways in which they ensured that the cures survived. So, for example, your grandmother might have a cure, and then she might pass it to you, and then she tells you the prayer. It might be the secret, the herb that you collect for the cure is a secret, or it might be the prayer or the blessing that you say, and that's a secret. And I think it has helped to help the cures to survive and not to be dissipated. And it's also, people see it part of their family's heritage, they're part of their tradition, and they pass it on. And often they say, some people have said to me, once I tell you the prayer for bleeding, for example, that's it, it's gone from me, I can never make it again. But other people might have said, I told my daughter it, but I can continue to make it also. So there's always grey areas. I found with the cures, it wasn't black and white. There was similarities and connections, but there was lots of uniqueness to each cure and variations. But they all have this common sort of powerful thread that they're part of this very old tradition.
One of the cameramen had gotten dermatitis as a result of his work. It gave a window of opportunity to capture what a curing looked like. On film is a recorded documentation of Noel performing his cure.
Nobody comes in here unless they have a problem. Anything from sprains, cancer, depression, anxiety, it heals everything. So what I'm doing is, I'm just going to do a wee reading in the Bible, then I'm going to come along and I'm going to put my hands close to your head like that, and we see how we go from there, okay?
Sound? Yeah.
Find any heat in my hands
Got
now?
any heat there?
A lot of heat.
Yeah.
Is it getting warmer?
It is now, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not touching you. Okay. That's it, Sam. We'll see how that goes.
100%,
I will give
yeah.
you a card and you give me a wee ring back sometime. Let me know how that is, because once your name's down there, if you have any other problems, I can come in here and do a wee healing for you.
Of course.
Just pick out your name.
Fantastic.
No
Really.
bother.
Typically performed in the healer's home, the environment is warm, relaxed, and deeply personal. This peaceful and optimistic environment fosters a sense of calm and strengthens belief, playing a vital role in the healing process.
She was an ordinary person in an ordinary home, and she did feel like she was special to me because I knew that she was the only person that's going to help me. I definitely had a feeling that there's something spiritual or magical in her home. We're brought to believe that, you know, everything's scientific and there's reasons and there's proof for everything, and I suppose my career is in that field, but definitely something exists that we can't explain.
Everybody that comes to me, no matter what they've got, Let be got cancer, 4 months to live, 5 months to live, 6 months to live, whatever. It could be with depression, it could be with gout, it could be with any form of disease or whatever. I say to everybody, what you've got is a message from our Lord saying, sort out your past before you come to meet me. The healing is all about your past, because that's where your future is. Your future is in your past. And your past is something that's set up by our Lord to test you out, to see how you're worthy of getting to heaven, because that's all this life is. Up to now, I know where I'm going when my time comes. I'm going to heaven because I've sorted out my past. And when you've that done, you're healed.
If the cure is quite handy to you and you're aware of it, you might say, well, I'll try that before going to the doctor. Or often people will try both. They'll try modern medicine and they'll try the traditional cure. And then I've also found that people go for cures as a last resort because they've tried everything else.
I also would follow a person on, I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Barbara O'Neill. She doesn't believe in doctor's medication. She believes in, say, the likes of castor oil, making potions, and she doesn't believe in any medication whatsoever. So the doctors got rid of her. Everything's natural, like where you get your vitamins from Celtic salt. You get all your minerals and vitamins from a wee dash of this Celtic salt under your tongue. I'm more into the natural world now, because I suppose I hate taking tablets. People will say that they have an infection in their tooth. Now I'll say to them, now I'm not guaranteed this will work because infection is deeper. So, but I says I'll do the cure for you, but I'm not 100% sure when it's a deep infection. Like some things you do need antibiotics for. But a generalised pain, you know, the prayer has worked.
The cure of the born there for small borns, you know, as I would call, maybe a wee bit of hot water on the hand or something, or hot water on the chest, or a sunburn. Sometimes it can be very bad that you would need medical help.
Folk traditions persist due to their strong psychological and spiritual elements, tapping into powerful mind-body connection. Dr. Ronald Moore notes that while scientific evidence for folk cures is scarce, the placebo effect often explains positive outcomes. Though mystical, the cure often complements conventional medicine by addressing the emotional and spiritual aspects overlooked by modern treatments. Barbara Naflin, an Irish folklore expert, agrees, pointing out that folk cures can succeed where modern medicine falls short, especially by giving patients a sense of control and connection with their healer. In his chapter, Faith, Healing and the Placebo Effect, Nicholas Humphrey, a former psychology professor, notes that people often seek external validation for self-healing, reinforcing their belief in the process. Skeptics would argue that a successful cure could just be a mere coincidence regardless of the healer's actions, or that a reduction of symptoms can occur naturally without anything miraculous taking place.
If people are sceptical, I would just say you don't have to avail of it, and just be respectful of the tradition, be respectful of the people that they make the cure, they make it in good faith. I found people with cures are very generous, huge generosity towards the people that they're trying to help, and be respectful of those that want to receive it, and it's totally a personal choice, and wish them luck. They still exist, and I think they'll continue to exist if people use them and people continue to make them and people pass them on. But it's quite a fine line, it's a delicate balance, and I hope my book will help people to have a greater realisation of the value of the cures and to respect them and to hold on and to use them.
It does give children relief, it gives people relief, and it will always tie them over.
So many complexities in life and the universe and the world, we don't understand everything. So I don't understand why the cures ultimately work, and they're very diverse, but they exist, and I believe they do work for many people. If you're sceptical, just give them a wide berth and try other things.